Hello and welcome back to Stardew Kitchen, a series where I struggle to cook every recipe from Stardew Valley in real life. We already went through 40 recipes over the two previous videos, which I highly recommend you watch if you haven't. This is riveting content. But today is all about the fall recipes, so let's sharpen our knives because the pumpkins are going to put up a fight. We'll kick things off with the pumpkin soup. It is fall after all. I got a small pumpkin here and I'm going to extract the mess of fibers and seeds inside, which is going to take a while. You probably know about the rules of the challenge already because you definitely watched the previous videos in the series, but just in case, they are. Rule 1. I must use every ingredient in the Stardew recipe. However, I may add ingredients to improve the recipe, otherwise the chocolate cake wouldn't even have chocolate in it. Rule 2. I may substitute ingredients, especially if we're talking rare fishes, stuff that doesn't exist, or stuff I cannot get my hands on in my country, but I'll try to match as closely as I can. And finally, it is generally okay to use ingredients that are derived from the Stardew Valley ingredients. For instance, I'll use corn flour when the recipe calls for corn, or cream when the recipe calls for milk. Now that our pumpkin flesh has been cut, with the skin still on for now, we'll add a drizzle of olive oil before putting all of this in the oven to roast. Meanwhile, we're going to get some onions in a pot and slightly burn them to give them a toasty, caramelly taste. Once our pumpkin is ready, some of it can join the onions after we remove the pumpkin skin, and we'll add some pumpkin spices. I got cinnamon, cloves, some grated nutmeg, and also added some veggie stock for flavor. Then we'll add some milk or cream if you're feeling extra naughty, before blending with an immersion blender. That's our soup done. Add some roasted pumpkin seeds, some salt and pepper, and we're already off to a good start of the season. Now, the next dish was supposed to be the strange bun, but the recipe needs void mayonnaise, which is obtained in-game from void egg. And those don't exist, so there's no... Ooh!
Kitty 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 kitty. Kitty 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 kitty.
Well, we apparently have void chickens now at the farm, so let's make void mayo with void egg, mustard, and vegetable oil. The other ingredient in the filling is periwinkle, which is easily my least favorite seafood, which is why I'm only preparing a handful here. I want to make as few of those buns as possible. Speaking of buns, let's make some. We're going to make a half brioche, half bread dough with warm milk, sugar, active dry yeast, and some salt. Once those ingredients are combined, we can add them, along with some olive oil, to wheat flour and start kneading. As always with everything bread, kneading is the main ingredient. Once the dough has taken some time to rest, I'll divide it into small bun balls. Now watch me absolutely fail at assembling a bun. Let's do it right this time. I'm going to flatten the dough, then place our void filling and carefully wrap it up, tying a small knot at what is going to be the bottom of the bun. Once on a baking sheet, I'll brush them with olive oil. Again, as you saw in the summer video, I don't own a brush, but fingers do just fine. Sprinkle some black sesame seeds and in the oven they go. They are out of the oven and they don't look as shiny as I would have hoped. I probably should have used egg wash instead of olive oil, but anyway, bon appetit! Let's see how they taste. Let's move on to something more tasteful. Salmon dinner. I'm chopping some kale into manageable pieces before blanching them. Then in my trusty wok, I'm going to sauté them along with some garlic and green beans. The Stardew recipe calls for amaranth. I've elected to use amaranth seeds instead of the plant itself. On medium to high heat, salmon goes in the pan, skin on, rotating every now and then to ensure even cooking. And that's done! Garnish with chives, super easy, quick to make, delicious meal. And very healthy too! The next dish is Autumn's Bounty, which is made with yam and pumpkin. By yam, I'm going to assume Concerned Ape means sweet potato. And for pumpkin, I'm going to choose butternut because it is very good. I'm going to peel and dice both. I don't know why, but everything looks yellow in the autumn light. And move the dice to a bowl where they get seasoned with salt and a heavy dose of Dijon mustard. Mix everything with our trusty iridium spoon, and once evenly coated, we're spreading everything on parchment paper before adding more spices like cumin seeds. Once they're back from the oven, they'll make a great dish with some couscous or maybe some quinoa. If you keep dying in the mines and need a pick-me-up that isn't going to cost you 1000 Gs, I have just what you need. Miner's Treats. This recipe is a triple oh no. It's a hard candy lollipop. Oh no! There's milk in it. Oh no! And there's carrot in it. Oh no! I started with the carrot flavoring by reducing carrot juice and sugar in a pot until it's a thick syrup. At this point in the recipe, I didn't know how much the carrot would mess up the whole project. So I measured sugar, glucose syrup, cream of tartar and water, and put everything on the stove to boil. I didn't boil it enough, so once poured on parchment paper, it didn't solidify and started leaking on the baking tray. It was a real mess, so I scrapped everything and started again. This time I boiled it properly to let the water evaporate and poured it into separate small containers. I added lime flavoring to the green, cherry flavoring to the red, banana for the blue, and of course our carrot concentrate as the orange. Once it started cooling down and solidifying, I had little time, so I started pulling and folding and pulling and folding. While doing that, the hot sugar is becoming more opaque. I'm also wearing gloves. I have thin white wool gloves under my blue nitrile gloves to try and insulate from the heat, because the hot sugar is too hot to touch with my bare hands. Each puck of sugar had to go back to the oven a few times to keep warm and malleable, but in the end I was able to assemble my 4 sticks of candy. Well, I say 4, but the orange one really doesn't want to play ball and keeps breaking and spreading small bits of candy into the other ones. I ended up removing most of it because it was ruining the candy, and after that it went sort of smoothly. I managed to make a single twisted stick of candy, which I then kept rolling out to flatten into a longer stick, which I finally rolled on itself and stuck lollipop sticks into. Disaster of a recipe. It was so hard to do. The sugar was burning hot. It took like 4 hours of failing and trying again and getting frustrated at the carrot part, but in the end the lollies tasted okay along with the mandatory glass of milk. It seems I spent too much time in the mines and forgot to water my crops, so here I am foraging for blackberries. We're going to make a blackberry cobbler. We're going to let our blackberries bask in sugar for some time while we work on the dough. The dough is made of flour, salt. That is way too much salt. Baking soda, milk and melted butter. Assembly is very simple. We pour our berry and sugar mix into a well-buttered cake mold and then the batter on top. In the oven it goes, and here is our finished cobbler. It doesn't cobble as much as I'd want to, but it was good. Except for the salt. There was so much salt. I had people over and they were like politely telling me this thing has a, quote, interesting taste. Let's move on to cranberry candy. You might expect it to be candy again, but the picture actually suggests more of a cocktail. First, let's start by chilling a glass of neutral oil in the freezer, and I swear this is going to make sense eventually. Then I'll add cranberry juice to a pot along with some agar-agar. It's a seaweed with gelling power. Once the mixture has boiled, we are going to fast chill it using a pipette and our cold oil. When dropping drops of juice into the oil, they will cool down very quickly and turn to jelly. And the oil surrounding them will help preserve a spherical shape and prevent them to merge with one another. Wash the jellified bowl thoroughly to remove any oil residue, and that will be the candy part of our cocktail. Wet the rim of a glass with more cranberry juice and then dunk it in some sugar before adding our jelly balls, equal parts cranberry juice and apple juice, the juice of a lime, a few ice cubes, and voila! Adding a shot of whiskey would also be a good idea, I reckon. Now today I'm very scared of going to the desert dungeon and fighting the flying serpents, but I do want the luck and speed boost of the spicy eel, so I spent a few hours struggling to fish for some. And now I'm adding garlic to a pan along with miso paste, soy sauce, tomato paste, gochujang chili paste, and chili flakes. This is a great marinade for chicken in case you want to try it. You can even add chopped ginger, but today is going on our pieces of eel, thick coating on both sides, and then in the oven they go under the grill. It works great. The eel is extremely tender, it tastes good, however the very strong spicy marinade is really destroying the subtle taste of the eel. So we're gonna have to make a different eel dish. Fried eel. It would make sense to fry them on a griddle, but I'm feeling more fish and chips today, so I'm patting my eel dry with a paper towel before flouring the pieces. For our batter, we're going to use flour, cornstarch, baking soda, black pepper, water, and dark beer. Once we reach a batter consistency, we're moving to the stove with the camera at a safe distance and deep frying our eel pieces one by one. The batter is going to puff and we can then serve with fries. Yummy! However, I need to atone for eating a meal that's basically just fried stuff, so we're going to switch to a more healthy recipe, the super meal. First, we're going to blanch the bok choy in a boiling pot of salty water, and once that's done, we're going to remove them and place the artichoke in there. Cover and let it cook while we saute some green onions, minced common mushrooms, chopped cranberries, and chili flakes. Remove the leaves of the artichoke. You can use the heart for another meal and scoop some of our fillings on there to use them as spoons. The result is healthy. It's not bad, it's just not very fun. Unlike our next dish, plum pudding, which is arguably more of a wintry dish, but wild plums are forageable in the fall, so here we are, adding muscovado sugar and warm butter to a bowl and mixing until homogeneous. Then we'll add eggs and mix again before adding our fruits. In my case, that's raisins, chopped cranberries because I have so much growing on the farm right now, and dried prunes. Fun fact, if you go online looking for a plum pudding recipe, for every page you will find, the unsufferable wall of text before the actual recipe will tell you that actually there is no plum in a real plum pudding, but we don't care and the study recipe calls for it. Add orange zests, vanilla sugar or vanilla extract, cinnamon powder, powdered clove, and mix again before adding a little bit of flour and quite a lot of freshly processed soft breadcrumbs, no crust. Finally, a shot or two of cognac or any other strong spirit. You will find recipes that use beef fat, but I like this one better because you can eat the cake cold if you like. In a well-buttered dish, I'm pressing the cake mix to make it as compact as possible, then adding parchment paper on top and building a nice aluminum cover. Once everything is safely packaged, we're going to place the dish in a large pot on top of an aluminum puck to avoid direct contact with the hot metal, and fill the pot about halfway with boiling water. And we're going to let that simmer for a total of 4 hours. Yes, 4 hours. Is it worth it? Let's find out. This is definitely a good result, it tastes great. I'm not sure it's worth the 4 hours cook time. But it's super easy to make and it's probably something I'll make again at Christmas times. I spent an entire day trying to catch a legendary fish and came back home empty-handed. Luckily, the Stardew Valley fish stew doesn't have any fish in it. I couldn't find crayfish, so I substituted them with langoustine, which I cooked in boiling water. Then I cooked mussels in olive oil, butter, and eventually added white wine, of course. I removed the shells from the mussels and langoustines, as well as the periwinkles. Then I sort of realized the shells had probably still some flavor in them, so I put them back on high heat with laurel, coriander, butter, trying to break them apart. I deglazed with the cooking juice from the mussels and was left with a nice shell broth. Finally, and I swear this is the last time, the big pot is cleaned again and we're sweating some onions, garlic, adding tomatoes, and then the flesh of our shellfish before adding back the broth. Garnish with a ton of parsley, salt and pepper, and that's a dish that would make Willy proud.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Stardew Kitchen Thanksgiving event, for which we have not one, not two, but 3 Thanksgiving-themed recipes. Stardew being a no-meat game, we will not be making any turkey today, but sure are going to make stuffing.
We have soft bread chilling on the counter since yesterday, and we're going to saute some shallots and onions in butter for a while, adding salt and pepper and eventually veggie stock to the glaze. Once that's done, we can assemble in a large bowl our bread, which has been conveniently cubed, crushed hazelnuts, chopped cranberries, parsley, and other herbs like thyme. On the liquid side, we're adding 2 beaten non-void eggs before mixing vigorously. Then we can add our onion mixture and mix again before moving everything to the oven.
What a tremendous dish! The sweet cranberry is definitely a plus. Next up on our Stardew Kitchen's Thanksgiving parade, pumpkin pie.
We still have some roasted pumpkin left from the pumpkin soup, so we're going to bake a store-bought puff pastry using chickpeas as weights. For the filling, we're gonna use warm butter, sugar, almond milk, powdered cloves, powdered cinnamon, grated nutmeg, and I guess the eggs eventually went in there. We can add the pumpkin flesh to the mixture, and since the pastry is about done, we're ready to go. Pour everything into the pastry, and let's put it back to the oven.
What a delight! This is certainly an award-worthy pumpkin pie. But what else do we have in store?
Cranberry sauce, but let's be honest, it's just glorified cranberry jam. In a large pot, I'm adding water, sugar, a cinnamon stick, fresh cranberries, and I guess that's it. Just let it boil for a while, and it will eventually break into a jam-like mixture, maybe with some help from some elbow grease. And that's it, don't blend it if you like to keep it chunky. The pectin in the cranberry will make the mix jelly and translucent. It's nice, but nothing to write home about. After this whole Thanksgiving extravaganza, I need something to help me digest, which is a great opportunity to make ginger ale. Or rather, I should have started a month ago because it takes a while. Let's make a ginger bug first. A ginger bug is a SCOBY, so it's like a sourdough starter, except it will ferment a fruit juice into sparkling juice. To start ginger bug, you need to add 100 grams of chopped ginger and 100 grams of sugar to a jar of water. Mix to get the sugar to dissolve and then add more the next day and the day after that, every day for a week, and the bug should start to bubble, signaling it is ready and you won't have to feed it as often. You can use your bug to ferment basically whatever drink you want, but to make ginger beer specifically, we'll add sugar and ginger to a pot of water and bring it to a boil. Then once it's back to room temp, we're going to add some of our ginger bug, let's say 10% of the total, and bottle the mixture, filtering out the ginger chunks. After a few days, our ginger beer is ready to be drank. Note that even if you think it looks cool, don't open the bottle like this, as an over-fermented liquid might shoot up, sometimes even dislodging the ceramic plug. Instead, open your bottles like this, keeping a finger on the plug to secure it. This also allows you to quickly close the bottle again if the situation starts to get out of control. This ginger beer isn't too fermented though, so we're all good. Time to enjoy a refreshing, zesty drink. I'm out foraging in Pelican Town again, but I can't find anything other than hazelnuts, so we're going to have to make roasted hazelnuts. It takes a while to break them all, especially if you're holding a camera in one hand, but once that's done, we can put them on a baking tray and off they go to the oven. Not gonna lie, I'm not very comfortable with the grill setting on my oven, and they ended up slightly over roasted. To remove the skin, you can put them in a tea towel and just rub them on the counter for a while. After washing the dust off, they're still definitely too roasted, but they taste good nonetheless in yogurt or porridge. The Stardew Valley Stir Fry is one of those dishes I have made multiple times since filming this, and I would gladly make again. I have here some iridium grade kale, the description says it's julienne vegetables, and I'm not sure how I can julienne kale, but we're going to try. Then it's the carrots' turn. Those sticks ended up being a bit too long. Maybe cutting them in half would have been a better choice. Onions in a wok, followed closely by carrots, garlic, then after a while mushroom and kale. You can always deglaze with stock and or soy sauce. Slightly disappointed in how the iridium kale turns back green when sautéed. I might have been misled by my deluxe fertilizer. Add a few green onions for color and we're done. Time for crab cakes. I'm not big on crab cake recipes that use a lot of mayo, so I found a cool recipe that uses mashed potatoes as a base, which is nice. As always, link in the description. It goes like this: crab, parsley, shallots, cooked mashed potatoes, salt, pepper, chili flakes. Simple enough, mix vigorously to combine. There's also an egg in there, but I can't find the footage of me adding it, so just trust me, it's there. I then struggled for a while to give my cakes a good shape, but eventually managed to get 8 nice looking floured crab cakes. Then we can shallow fry them in neutral oil. Be careful not to burn them as they get brown quite fast. Maybe make sure the oil isn't too hot. Boom! Nice looking crab cakes, a bit too salty for my taste, but otherwise crispy and delicious. It's already time to wrap up this episode of Stardew Kitchen. So for our final recipe, we're going to make lobster bisque. I'm going to spare you the sight of removing the flesh from the shell and skip directly to melting butter in a pot before adding our shell and working it with a wooden spoon to break it down as much as possible to extract those flavors. Then we're going to add leeks, carrots, onions, and then garlic, and again mix everything thoroughly. Laurel leaves, chili flakes, and salt join the mix. Then we'll leave everything to cook. The vegetables are going to start sweating some water, which is good. After a while we can add wheat flour and let that cook as well before deglazing with some cognac as well as some white wine. Then we'll add veggie stock, tomato paste, and water to get everything submerged before letting all of that simmer and reduce to concentrate the flavors. It smells very good. We're straining the mixture to get the bisque. Don't forget to scrape everything you can from the bottom of the pot. I'm putting aside 1 ladle of soup and the rest goes to a pot along with some cream. Not that this isn't already very smooth and silky, but now it's even more better. In a pan, I'm going to pour the little bit of bisque I put aside and use it to glaze the lobster pieces. Absolutely delicious dish. Easily in the top 5 and surprisingly not the most expensive of this whole Stardew Kitchen adventure. There goes part 3. We now have completed 60 recipes. Thank you all for your support and tips and comments on the previous videos. Everyone has been so nice and it's been really great to read your responses. While all the cooking segments have been filmed for a long time already, these videos take way longer to edit than I'd like, and I hope I can get the winter video out before everyone gets tired of these. Don't forget to check out the official Stardew Valley cookbook, which has now been released. There's a link in the description, as well as links to recipes I used. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next and final episode of Stardew Kitchen.